Welcome to the Mark Smith Podcast. As hunters, fishermen, and outdoorsmen and women, life has been a journey that's taken us to high mountain peaks and low river bottoms. We've had ups and downs, trials, tribulations, and in the end, we find joy. Joy only found through the good news of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. These are our stories, so pull up a seat, lean in, and enjoy. Now, let's get to the episode. All right, well, here we are. Episode 4 already. 1 day pre-op for the old ankle surgery coming up tomorrow, and I'm excited for that. I can't get on that road to recovery fast enough. But it took a whole week. They can't operate on things like that unless it's like a compound fracture, bone hanging out of it or something. Then they'll operate immediately. But since mine wasn't, they wanted to give me a week to let the swelling go down, because they operate while it's swollen, then it doesn't heal. It's not in its natural orientation, right? So when they operate with it swollen, obviously I feel like that's common sense. So
yeah,
and every day this thing's getting itchier and looser and floppier and achier, and so my leg's shrinking down. Your mom said she could see some bruising on the back of my leg last night. So hate to make this the center of attention, but it's kind of the center of my attention right now. When you have this going on, you really don't have anything else going on around you.
That's the elephant hoof in the room. Yeah.
It's the elephant hoof in the room. Yeah. So a couple things. You ever go through an injury like this, right away I'm going to tell you, get you one of them scooter carts. I'll show you at the end here. Maybe Travis can get some video of me doing donuts around here. The scooter cart, knee scooter is 1,000% better than crutches. I only use one crutch now when I'm hopping over in and out of the shower. Other than that, man, I do everything from the knee scooter, and it changed the whole dynamic of the situation. And then zip off cargo pants. I got on, well, for those of you listening out on Spotify and Cyber World, you can't see, but my wife was smart. She's like, we're trying to get my pants over this elephant hoof every day. Was quite the challenge for her. So being your mom, she takes things into her own hands. Ordered me some cheap Amazon zip off leg cargo pants, and they're pretty nice. So show a little skin over there. We'll make this PG. I got a little skin showing over here, but yeah, tomorrow we're getting operated on, but we didn't want to miss and we may record one over the weekend, so that we don't have to wait till next week to do the recording. We usually record on Wednesday mornings, early in the morning, right after Bible study. But we don't know how my recovery is going to be, how loopy I'll be, and all that. So we thought we'd record one today. I don't have a theme for you like we have in the past. We just want to have a kind of an open forum, open conversation, and talk about obviously the surgery coming up on my leg, and then just some open topics. What you got? What words of wisdom do you have today?
I had all of this happening. That reminded me of old Herb Bull when you took him out. When your arrow busted that leg,
Yeah.
and dropped him, and he finished him off. It reminded me of that. And so there's all that talk about arrows right now, with having penetration and stuff. And so I know I've seen you just use the same arrows for the past several years, but the big talk right now is like FOC and the front and center, and being able to make pass-through shots and all that stuff. But I saw a gigantic herd bull elk get taken down, dropped. That was back in what year was that?
2012.
2012. What were you using for a broadhead?
Gold tip hunter, just a generic 246 diameter gold tip hunter elite, like the straightest ones, but it was like a 400 grain arrow. And I shot that bull at 96 yards.
Yeah, and he went right into the right. He just took like 5 steps for him. For me, it was like him moving across the football field. For him, it was like 5 steps into the timber, went down.
Yeah.
But So how, with all the technology coming out, how has your setup changed
Yeah.
for that?
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's a great topic. It's something good to talk about. Arrows are, man, talking about arrows is a whole episode. And talking about arrows is like mechanical versus fixed. And I don't even know why we're still talking about that topic today. I don't even know. It, what I find is when people come on forums and stuff and they ask those questions, they start talking about broadheads and arrows. Everything they talk about is theory and studies and data and things they test and all this stuff, but they don't have the real world experience of arrows. What I've killed both. I've shot super, super slow, heavy arrows, and I've shot ultra light, eggshell, brittle, lightweight arrows. I've shot fixed blade broadheads and mechanical broadheads, and yes, to all of that is what filled this whole entire trophy room up, is all of that stuff. But the majority of everything in this room, including the 1,100-pound bison on the wall, were all killed. That and all of these elk, every single elk in this room and that bison were killed with arrows that weighed under 400 grains.
Really?
Yeah. And so arrows, so I shoot right here, I shoot gold tip, 246 diameter, Velocity Pro 300s. And I want to say that is 8.8 grains per inch. I want to say, yeah, 8.8 grains per inch on the shaft. It's just a 246 carbon shaft with AAE max vanes, ultra lightweight AccuTough Nox, and a 100 grain Grim Reaper Carnivore with a 14 grain aluminum insert. My FOC is like 11%, 9, 10, 11%, something like that. Arrow weighs about, this arrow weighs right about 390 grains, I'm guessing. And I get over 300 feet per second out of my bow. And if I was going to go hunt prairie dogs, I would shoot this arrow. And if I was going to go hunt Cape buffalo, or I'm talking out my butt, I've never hunted Cape buffalo. No, I'd probably take something much heavier. But elk hunting.
Okay.
Let's just say
Yeah.
I was going to leave and go out of camp, and I'm going to hunt anything from grouse to elk today. I'd shoot the same arrow. And I'd shoot them out to ever how far I had to shoot them. Now, I used to shoot far as a young man, and anymore, I'd get more. I just get more in tune with the whole concept of bow hunting. And I used to, I could not get close to animals, so I learned to shoot far. But the whole challenge and the fun part of bow hunting is getting actually close to the animals. And so I still have pins that I can take long shots with, but I'm really trying to get inside 50 yards on Western game and inside 20 yards on Eastern game. I want turkeys and whitetail and hogs. I want those in the teens to single digits. I want them 15, 16 yards. Elk, I prefer to have them inside 50 yards. Mule deer, I like mule deer out there at 50, 60 yards. They don't react to the bow shot, but I'll get them as close as I can get them. But the reason, look, in 1995, Beeman came out. They introduced and they created the Beeman ICS, Internal Component System Hunter. And that was a 246 diameter, and it took a regular Easton Super Knock, and you could put like a ACC 360-ish insert in that carbon arrow, and that was created in 1995. Easton bought them soon after that. Easton bought Beeman. And in 1999, I started shooting Beeman ICS hunters. That was 27 years ago. So we're talking 30-year-old technology. I still shoot that same technology today. You know why? Because they haven't created anything that's better. They've created things that are different. But if you take every arrow manufacturer out there, the big ones, right? So you take all the big ones. So you had Carbon Express, Gold Tip, Easton, Beeman, some other brands out there. They all come up. They all have an arrow like this in their library. They all have this in their inventory. They all have something like this, but they also have their 5 millimeter, 4 millimeter. This is, I think, what they call a 6.5 millimeter, which is just, that's an Easton thing, keeping all their millimeters, whatever. Um, but I was one of the very first human beings to ever kill an animal with an Easton Axis arrow. A lot of people don't know that, but I was over at the factory in 2003. They were going to launch the Easton Axis and the Fat Boy Target 3D arrow at the same time in 2004. I happened to be at the facility and got a handful of samples, and I had a bison hunt, and I shot. They gave me a dozen Easton Axis 400 spine. I threw a 100 grain broadhead on that thing with some 4-inch veins, sighted it in. I shot that bison on the wall right there, broadside, at 62 yards and had a complete pass through. He went 35 yards, piled up dead. That arrow weighed about 390 grains, if I remember right. And I was like, yeah.
But you were probably shooting what,
70
80
pounds.
pound?
70 pounds.
70
A 70 pound Hoyt Ultratech. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's probably in the 280s. Kinetic energy is probably somewhere around 65 foot-pounds of produced kinetic energy. And I played with, and then I went to, and somewhere along in there, I started shooting the ultralight stuff, the Velocity Pros, the Easton Flatlines. The farthest animal I've ever killed with a bow is that 163-inch mule deer over there I killed in 2010 in Colorado. I shot him at 109 yards off of a cliff with an arrow that weighed 336 grains. And my bow was set on 65 pounds. I was getting 300 feet a second.
Wow.
The thing was shooting laser darts. I shot that deer in the heart at 109 yards off a cliff, complete pass through. Deer went about 40 yards down the hill, flipped over dead. So I started playing around back then, but I was shooting a 75 grain broadhead. What I learned just by proxy over the years, shooting these ultra lightweight arrows, the reason I had so much success was because I was shooting real lightweight broadheads. So the stiffer the arrow is, I'll get into stiff arrows. So those lightweight broadheads made those 400 spine arrows light or stiff. So without going up in spine weight, a few years later, I went up in broadhead weight. As manufacturers stopped making great 75, 85 grain broadheads, I started shooting 100 grain. I started having penetration problems, arrows snapping off on impact. Well, the spine wasn't stiff enough. I put 100 grains on that 400 grain spine arrow. That weakened the spine. I was shooting mule deer at long range, and if I hit them somewhere in a bone, it would just crack my arrow and bust it in half, no penetration. So then I started dropping my spine, or going up in spine. So I went to the 340 for a while. Now I'm in the 300 spine. And somewhere around 2008, 2009, I started shooting for gold tip and got to know Tim Gillingham well. And Tim Gillingham is very studied up on this subject, and he's a lightweight arrow guy. And he said that I talk about arrow spine and all this, and something I realized, learned from Tim, is you can never be overspined. You can be underspined, but it's impossible. And I've tried it. It's impossible to be overspined with an arrow. I could fletch up 1/2 inch conduit, shoot it out of a bow, and it wouldn't be overspined. But okay. I could fletch up some spaghetti noodles and shoot them out of a bow and definitely be underspined, right? So, what I learned was, in all my 45 years of bow hunting, I want a lightweight, fast arrow that's very stiff, spinning really good out of my bow. Super tuned, shooting perfect bullet holes, grouping golf ball size groups at 50 yards, and it can weigh 350 to 400 grains, at least going 280 feet per second, and the rest I don't care about. That's all that matters. For a little while, I dabbled in the skinny arrow stuff. So Gold Tip came out with their Pierce, and I shot those for a while, but man, I was always having to tune on my bow and stuff, and I realized with a 246, I would not have to tune my bow as much. And it tuned easy and was good to go and stayed tuned. It wasn't breaking knocks. It was all so look at this. If you can see this video, a tiny skinny arrow coming off of a bowstring, it can move so much. But the wider you make that arrow, the less movement you're going to have coming off of that string. And I'm like, man, why all of a sudden, we've been building carbon arrows for a long time. Why all of a sudden is FOC so important? Why are people shooting 600 grain arrows? I started noticing my friends having really high and low hits. blowing right through stuff, high and low, not killing animals. And I looked at one of my buddies just this year. I was hunting with a buddy, and he shot a buck low, walking through the woods, and he got into that high FOC heavy arrow craze, and he shot a buck that was in the mid-20s walking, and he shot it through the brisket, really nice public land buck. And I picked his bow up, and the guy's got like a 27-inch draw length. In real life, he should be about 26 and a half maybe, but he had a 27-inch draw length, and I'm like, unless you're shooting 90 pounds, and I know that bow you're shooting, it's not 90 pounds, why would you ever shoot that heavy of an arrow? Well, it's something I saw on the internet, golly. So I looked at his bow pins. You could put my 20, 30, and 40-yard pins between his 20 and 30 pin. Here's the deal, man. Bow manufacturers quit chasing the fast game years ago. I think some of them still mess around with it. PSC's trying to make a 350 bow. Hoyt got in the mid 330s and said, fine, good enough. Let's just make them quiet. Yeah. And so everybody's started working on quiet, shock-free bow. Here's the deal. You're never, ever, ever, ever on planet Earth in this millennium going to make a bow quiet enough that a deer will not hear it go off. It's never going to happen. And a deer is just as scared of a whisper quiet bow as he is a freaking crossbow. I've heard your crossbow go off in the woods, so BAM! I think it sounds like a 22 Magnum going off in the woods. And then there's been times you didn't hear my bow go off. A nice quiet Hoyt. But it doesn't matter. A white-tailed deer inside 30 yards, whether that bow is the quietest bow that's ever been made, or it's a bow that you put zero effort into making quiet, a deer is going to hear it react to the arrow stream. They're going to. Every single time they're going to react to the bow shot and the whistling of the arrow coming at them.
Mm-hmm. And that
period. They're going to hear it. So if they're going to hear it anyway, if they're going to hear the bow go off, regardless of what it is, wouldn't you want the fastest flipping arrow on planet Earth going at them, the stiffest, fastest, hardest hitting arrow you could get going at them? Yes, that's why there's so many of my generation that chased the speed game, that saw the benefit of speed, not buying into this garbage. The reason you have brass collars and steel bushings and titanium knock joints and blah, blah, is because manufacturers need to sell crap. Period. We done created the most perfect thing that ever worked. We got to sell. The whole world stocked up on arrows. We got to get them to believe and they need to shoot something else. I have actually seen guys. Let me just finish this tirade right real quick. Yeah. I have seen guys say, well, I'm going to the high country. I'm going to hunt deer and elk. And I got a 6-arrow quiver. These first 3 arrows are my mule deer arrows. And my next 3 arrows are my elk arrows. And the first 3 arrows weigh 450. And the next 3 arrows weigh 625. And then I got cut on contact, VAP, single bevel, Mojo, flopping, wappa doo broadhead on here. But on my front ones, I got my mechanicals for my mule. Whoa. And then if my 20-yard pin or my 30-yard pin becomes my 20-yard pin for these arrows, I'm like, you just made bow hunting harder.
That is a chaos.
Than it has ever had to be in your life, son. Wow. Look, get you a good stiff, flat shooting 400 grain arrow with a real good mechanical or fixed blade broadhead, whatever shoots good. Sight it in and go hunt moose to grouse with it and quit messing around with all that stuff, man. You're wasting your time. Spend your time scouting. But I think a lot of people just do all that just to create content, if I'm being honest. But I'm too old and I don't care about all that. And I'll start watching them till my head hurts. I'm like, why? But I know I'm going to do this test. I'm going to shoot. You know what my test is? If I want to see how something works, I just go out in the woods and shoot a 225-pound hog with it. And if I find him, it worked. If you find him at all, it worked. If you made a good shot, And I'm a little jaded that way because of where I live. But one of the questions was like, why are you still shooting gold tip in this day and age? And why are you still shooting 30-year-old technology? Because gold tip said yes to me when nobody else would, and when everybody else wanted to jump off because they got bought by another whatever, and they're not putting any more money into technology, and they're not the latest and greatest. They've never been nothing but 100% kind to me. Tim Gillingham, from the minute in 2008, I said, Tim, would you take me on your staff? He said, yep, here's a little contract for you. We'll send you two 2 dozen a year free. If you want to buy some more, you can get them real cheap. Good deal. Shook hands on it. About 20 years later, I'm still on that handshake doing that deal, and it works for me because of the arrows I shoot and my needs. That's why I've been married to your mom for 37 years. That's why I've shot Hoyts pretty much since 1998. That's why I work at places for 20 years. I'm a commitment guy. If you invest in me and you never let me down, I'm never going to let you down. I'm going to stick with you. Gold Tips never let me down. They've always done exactly what they said they would do when they said they would do it. They never overpromised, underpromised. They give me a little bit of shine on their Instagram stuff. They don't overdo it. They don't underdo it. And it's just that's why I stuck with Gold Tip, because Gold Tip stuck with me and they've never let me down. And why am I still shooting 30-year-old technology? Because it works. And I've not found anything that works better for my needs. So there's that.
Wow. It sounds like to me, because I'm always like one pinky toe in the give a darn about all of this with technology and stuff. You've always been like, hey, here's this bow, it's set up, let's go hunting, right? So I can do some of my own stuff on bows, but other than that, it's always like, nope, here's the arrow I shoot, this is the bow I shoot. I don't really question those things. So I had to struggle with the whole. I had the mentor, right? So I had the guy saying, no, this is what works, just use it. And so I've used it for years, obviously, and it's worked. So that's why it's really kind of confusing for me, who's someone who's kind of halfway engaged. Like I really should be buying my bows at Walmart because I just don't care that much about this. I should be just going buying the Bear or the Diamond and just going and doing that. Like for that guy who's in that lower bracket of what he can afford or even mentally care about in the archery game, like it sounds very confusing to that guy, because to me it sounds like we've created an enemy. We got complacent, and so we decided to have a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People get bored. They create drama. We're dealing with it in our own personal lives with other situations right now, and it's just like that's the same thing in the world. People get there's nothing to worry about. If there's nothing to get concerned about, and there's people that have entire channels on building heavy giant arrows, and that they believe and they can prove with data. I'm telling you right now, I'll go send this 390 grain arrow through a moose broadside at night at 80 yards, 90 yards, and watch him die in sight with this mechanical broadhead. And you're not going to convince me otherwise, because I've done it too many times. Life experience. That's why you don't see too many old school guys getting on these threads anymore, like Duggar. Duggar's the same philosophy as me. He owns an archery shop. Whatever your archery shop owner's shooting, like I've seen archery shop owners that will sell all that heavy FOC, jiv and jive and 90-pound bows and all that. But watch, that shop owner shooting a 375 grain arrow and 65 pounds, super accurately killing everything he points it at. Like I've seen that so many times. And there are cases when you need heavy poundage. Guys that don't have a 29, 30-inch draw length. They want to hunt big animals with heavy bone-crushing arrows. Man, I agree. And if you can shoot 90 pounds, do it. 80 pounds, do that. You're not going to get to do it your whole life, but do it while you can. But I used to shoot 80 pounds, and then I got to a point where I was only shooting like 60 pounds, and I was killing just as much stuff. And so now I'm like, I just want that happy medium somewhere, fast, quiet, efficient. So a 375, 80, 90 grain arrow out of a 70 pound, these new Hoyts are so fast, man. I think IBO or ATA or whatever the rating is on these bows now is close to 340. And I'm looking at my RX10 Ultra here, and guys like Aaron Snyder, strong, been around, been there, done that. He's still just like me. I think he likes a little bit heavier arrows than I do, but I think he likes 80 pounds and 450 grain arrows, but he only wants in that 280s. And we learned our craft on shooting unmarked 3Ds. And old rednecks like us, we'd go to shoot field rounds with our 3D setups. So we understood and absolutely understood and were in tune with our setups in that 380 range or 280 range. So, NFAA rules can't be over 280, ASA 280 rules. And so, unless I was shooting an IBO and needing over 300 feet per second, I loved shooting 280 year round. All of the field championships that I've won, all of the state target rounds that I've won, the 900 rounds, the 1800 rounds, state championships that I've won, regional championships I've won, have all been with hunting bows in the 280s. Even in the pro division, I won them with carbon Hoyt hunting bows because that's just what I shoot best. And back when I won some state indoor stuff, I shot them with Hoyt Vipers, like 5-inch brace height target bow hunting bows. I'd crank down to 60 pounds and shoot fat aluminum out of them. Still won indoor state 5-spot 3D target indoor championships with them because I just shoot hunting setups better. I don't like high brace height. I like lower brace height hunting bows and just the overall feel. But the thing about me is that if you're out there doing all that other stuff, you're not wrong. But you're also not the only one that's right. And that's what I get so frustrated with this new generation when they're on their YouTube channels doing their testing in their labs and doing all that. You're only working off theory. And you're a young man coming at me with a theory and this is the only way. No, it's not. There's a lot of other ways to do it. Yeah. And my way is the right way for me. And you're never going to convince me otherwise. I bet every one of these animals in here would tell you you're a liar if you tell me that what I did didn't work. It worked. But I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. But that's weird. Arrows came up, but that's a great conversation.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, like I said, I don't know, this whole thing, you think about like all the injuries that we inflict and the way we do it, and then we get hurt. And yeah. Like, man, that's always rolls through my mind if I cut myself or like hurt myself. Man, well, I'm a little bit better off than what I did. But yeah, no, one of the most like iconic moments for me is whenever you hit him and like I could hear it. Because I was about 150 yards away from you, behind a boulder watching you, and I saw you hit him, and I heard it. Yeah, it broke his main leg bone right below the shoulder, and he stumbled into the woods. So they're like, "Hey, you need the penetration." I'm just saying, man.
That was a 390 grain arrow. It was a gold tip Hunter 75-95, so like a heavy spine arrow with 100 grain. Terminal T-lock by Trophy Taker. Terminal T-lock, fixed blade broadhead.
What did you get that with? Yeah, the Terminal.
Yeah, Terminal T. Yeah. And those were good heads, man. Those were really good heads. That broke him down and got him. But I don't I'm the kind of guy that I'm going to use things that are like you need them. So I've had trouble here in Texas shooting any mechanicals through ground blind screens. And so right now I'm thinking about my setup. And I'm absolutely smitten by Grim Reaper. From the minute I started shooting them, I realized these are the best heads I've ever shot. The Pro 3s, the Pro Series 3 blade, and then now this Carnivore is absolutely, I am smitten by this thing right here. This 4-blade Carnivore. It kills better than it should. My recovery rate on even marginally hit wild hogs went double. I'm 100%. Ever since switching to this broadhead, I'm 100%. And I love them. But now that we're going into this season in life where I'm going to be ground blind hunting a lot this year, hobbling around and hunting from the ground because I don't think I can climb trees by fall, I'm going to probably go to like the 100 grain Hades. And I'm going to get a new bow. We'll talk about that. We'll do a setup. But I talked to Hoyt, I talked to Evan, and I got this bow. I got me a RX-10 Carbon Ultra set up with my doobobs and my dibber jabbers and my sidebars and my quad pods and my G.I. Joes and all this and 7 pins. I was gonna go out west and hunt mule deer this year. I had some plans, man. I had some plans. Yeah. I was gonna go hunt elk and mule deer this year. I had a pretty good plan. And now I'm going to have to skip that plan because I don't think I can climb mountains this year with a pack on. So being confined to tight spaces of ground blinds and such, I talked to Evan and he's going to send me an Enduro.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's not ultra lightweight, lighter than this bow, but I'm not going to have sidebars and a heavy sight and all that. I'm not even going to put a stabilizer on. I'm just going to shoot the little stabilizer off the front of the riser with the quad or with the go sticks, so I can put it in the ground blind to stand it up. But I'm going to go with an enduro 70 pounds, and it's only a 30-inch axle to axle, so it'll be more maneuverable in that ground blind. Because as big as I am, when I shoot my 33, 34-inch bows, I have hit the top of ground blinds before shooting at hogs and stuff. So I wanted a little shorter bow, and so yeah, we'll do a complete setup on that. So I have the most expensive, latest and greatest Hoyt they make,
Yeah.
and I have this economy entry model. And knowing my style, I'm going to like that one just as much, if not more. Same thing like with my Weatherby's. I have a Backcountry 2.0 Mark V carbon
Yeah.
laser beam shooter in there,
Yeah.
and I have a Vanguard Obsidian 25-06.
Yeah.
I'll pick that Obsidian 25-06 up 10-1 over that 257. I love the 257 Weatherby mag, but man, there's something about that cheap beater sub $700 rifle that is just bad A, because that thing will shoot lights out, and I just love it, and I don't have to take care of it. Look at me, I'm not good at taking care of stuff, and if it's very expensive and I don't want to scratch it, I want to take care of it. So I ain't gonna take my carbon bow and my Mark V out, but man, I'll take me a Vanguard and an Enduro out and just tear it all to pieces, and I'm not out nothing, So I'm excited about that. We'll do a setup too. We'll do a bow setup, and we'll do a comparison. I'll probably have to have you do it, but we'll shoot through the chronograph, same arrow, same poundage. We'll shoot the same arrow through both bows. We'll do a decibel test, because in here, man, you can really hear, inside this building when we shoot. So we'll have some fun with that. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was going to be a short episode. We got to get on with some work stuff here in a little bit, but I'm glad you brought up arrows. Did you have any other questions about arrows or why and what's and all that stuff? I mean, this is going to open up a can of worms, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah. No, I think that about covers it. The thing for me, and the elephant that got brought up in the conversation earlier on, is I shoot a crossbow now.
Yeah.
Not now. I've shot it for a while. I have gone back and forth around crossbows. I liked the idea of them, and then I was gifted one, and then I just started laying game down with it as a provider for my home. I have to look at provision and what's my fastest and we can say easiest, or I call it guarantee.
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend the money to go out there, I don't like eating tag soup, and I don't like having to worry about technology, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what was brought up is like that speed. For me, I know for a fact that an animal cannot duck 390 feet per second.
No.
So
inside 30 yards. Yeah.
Inside 30 yards. Yeah. So mine's outdated now. Now they get up way higher poundage. So mine goes to 390 with the right setup. But I've watched them all just drop in sight. But going back to what affects the deer, and this could be just theory, I can get the smackdown on this, but I don't think that they care about the sound of the bow. When I watch them, and we're in East Texas, it's like a floodplain. So we have very unstable trees and very rotted old dead trees. And so I've watched limbs fall out of a tree next to me and a deer barely flinch. Yeah. It comes crashing down. But these veins, they see that. And I've also done the test in the ground blind. I've even, on a mom with some fawns, if I don't want to mess with her, I've popped the side of the tent just to see, because I've accidentally done things, and I noticed there's like a 2 to 3 second gap between me doing that, and her listening. Yeah. They can slam me all they want. All I can say is I've done this and tested it. If you hit something, drop something. There's usually a 2 to 3 Mississippi second before that deer
kind of pays
does
attention.
This. But what they do is they see it fall. Yeah. They do see it fall. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I think that's my theory, is like if they can't see it, then they can't do much about it. But anyways, but yeah, that's why I'm chasing speed also, but I'm trying to get over 400.
Yeah. That's a whole other ball of wax. Yeah, we still love you, man. You hunt with a crossbow, but we still love you. It's okay. Now, I've seen the joy it brings you, I'm not a crossbow guy. It's just not, and I'm not an anti-crossbow guy. It's just not a style I choose to hunt with. I don't choose to hunt with a smooth bore flintlock round ball muzzleloader either.
Yeah.
I just it's not into that. I got enough on my plate. But I love. And a matter of fact, I'm not a trad hunter anymore. I killed 3 deer with a trad bow, and when I look at my recovery ratio, I have to do what's right for the animals,
Yeah.
and it's not right for me to hunt with a trad bow for animals. So I don't. I'm going to turn my trad bow into a bow fishing setup. But I'm done doing that because the animals deserve my very best. And if I'm not committed to only be trad, you got to either be trad or don't be trad. But you can't be a compound hunter that dabbles in trad, or you'll just end up being a not. You won't be a great recurve hunter. And if you're not a great recurve hunter and shooter, you shouldn't be out there putting arrows in their hips and shoulders and necks and missing them and cutting them all. It's not right. So for me, I'm not a trad bow hunter, but I'm not a crossbow hunter either. I'm somewhere in the middle. I like my compounds. I like my Weatherbies, and I just like what I like. But I'm not against you or your crossbow, man. And you hunt it with that thing as long as you want.
Well, no, and that's because the whole stigma of people are like, oh, well, he doesn't have an injury. Why is he using that? Okay, fine. I'll go shoot. I did this 2 years
last
ago.
year,
I got some heat over. He had posted a picture of my crossbow doe, and so I went. And they got some heat over it, and so I said, fine. I'll go take my recurve. I've never killed a deer with my recurve before, so I went, got dialed in at like 20 yards at my house. Then went back to almost the same setup. Deer was the exact same yardage, and I killed my first recurve doe just to prove I could. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. This is planet Earth, and there's nothing in the Bible, so there's no truth to what anybody should or shouldn't hunt with.
No.
Except for what, like you pointed out, what is right for the animal. And so,
yeah.
But yeah, no, that was fun.
Well, I just see the joy it brings you, and I'm like, hey, it makes me happy to see you be happy. And if that makes you happy, I'm happy for you.
I just like to.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's just not for me, but it's cool for you. And
yeah,
just like trad bow, I want to be good with one, but I'm not willing to give up compound. So I had to learn. Just set the trad bow down and go bow fishing. Yeah. All right, hey, we got a couple of questions last night, and then we got to wrap this up. We got 10 minutes left here. So, first question I put out last night. Ask us a question, we'll answer it on the podcast. And we're going to do this every week, so we want you to really engage and send some. This guy says, have you ever been in a lightning storm that brought you closer to God? Every lightning storm I've ever been in, I thought I was being hand-delivered to God, to be honest with you. So, this is Dustin Whitwer asked me that.
Did he really?
And he knows for a fact that I was in one because he was in the same dang lightning storm.
Well,
we were laying under trees, me and Corey and Dustin and Jason Hubba. We're in the Ruby Wilderness in Nevada. Night one, all of our tents lined up under these little trees. And I'm telling you, most hellacious thunderstorm, lightning storm you've ever seen. We woke up, water in our tents, rain blowing sideways. We put them to the test, but it was the most tremendous, spectacular show of lightning I've ever seen in my life, and it was bad. And yeah, I think we all thought we thought Jesus was riding in on that white horse that night. But I've been in some, and he ain't gonna believe this, but I've been in one other that was worse in Colorado. And I remember just laying on my belly. I was a young man, fresh into hunting high country, and it got so bad I just laid on my belly. I just didn't want the lightning to strike my face. I at least wanted to look good in my coffin. So I rolled over face down. I was like, if lightning's going to strike me, it's going to strike me right in the behind. But yeah, I've been in a couple that you're begging God to spare your life. It's that bad. So yeah, I'd say it brought me pretty close to God, Whitwer. And the other one is, what's your favorite hunt every year? This is from our friends Jake Scott, Austin's cousin, turkey hunts with us. Yeah, Jake. What's your favorite hunt every year? Well, that's kind of a loaded question. So the only hunt that I can absolutely guaranteed count on every year is right here in Texas on my deer lease and trying to kill a mature buck with my Hoyt. That's something I look forward to and put more emphasis in every year. every year I put that as the number one focus because it's guaranteed and I get to do it. So I put a lot of energy, time, and effort into hunting right here on my homeland in East Texas for a big mature whitetail buck. But on years that I draw my Colorado migration rifle hunt where I killed that buck and a couple of bucks up there and some other bucks with Duggar, that's when I look forward to the most if I can draw it. On years that I can draw that, I look forward to it the most. And it's usually in offsetting years I can draw Kansas and go hunt with Sean Dennison. I look forward to so if I have that tag, I look forward to it the most. But if I have the Colorado tag, I look forward to it the most. But I'm always looking forward to the Texas hunt. So I would say let's just wrap this. What are my 3 favorite hunts that I do today? Number 1 would be my home hunt here in East Texas for mature whitetail, migration rifle hunt for mule deer in Colorado with Duggar, and then hunting the farm with Sean Dennison in Kansas. Those are my top 3. So hope that answers it. But hey, let's wrap this up because we got to get on a work call, and I go in for surgery in the morning, so it ain't going to do me no good to ask y'all to pray for me because this is going to air. I'll be post-op, already in recovery by the time this airs on Monday. But we'll come back to you next week with another update on how the surgery went. Maybe give you some feedback on this episode about the arrow stuff. We'll see how that goes. And then we'll come up with something else for you. But appreciate y'all joining in, listening today. And remember, Jesus said, love God and love one another as you love yourselves. And we certainly love you. We love you all and care about you, and we're praying for you too. And if you have any needs that you want to be put on a prayer request, hit us in the DMs, hit us in the messaging, hit us in the comment section. Send us a private message. We'll be glad to pray over you and pray for you anytime, any chance we get. So with that, God bless. We'll see you on the next one.